That is discipline. Selfish.
No joke. We're legitimate.
Fucking do this? Then do it. Do it 100% because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
Got to be a champion, become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
And welcome to episode 37 of The Coaches Show. I'm Mike Bianca, coach of the New Orleans Hurricanes. And with me, my co-host and friend Ryan Gray, coach of AC Diesel. Our guest tonight could have a Tiger Woods pre-drive intro at the first hole of Augusta. But we'll keep it simple and we'll just call him a legend. Ladies and gentlemen, Maddie Marshall will be joining us. And this evening, he's going to give us a view on many of the current topics surrounding our game. But wait, there's more. Before we jump in with Maddie, we'll get the latest and greatest update regarding paintball on ESPN, as well as the show times from Major League Paintball's president, Tom Cole. And of course, answering some of your questions too. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Max Sportswear. For all your custom paintball goods, get maxed. And BKI, the best knowledge in paintball. Links to sign up for the upcoming coaches clinics are live on PB Leagues. All right, how we doing tonight, Ryan?
And I'm good. Real quick note on the PB Leagues sign up for the Drew Clinic. Unfortunately, right now says that it's the Windy City Clinic, but it's not. It takes you to the same place. You'll click the button and you'll get to pick which one you want. So I apologize. We'll get that, get Chris get that fixed ASAP. Nonetheless, it says Windy City. It's not. It's the Drew Clinic. So get signed up. And again, details are still coming, but that clinic will happen right after the Nations Cup is over. You and I will run basically from Nations Cup and straight over there to do the clinic. Keep in mind, like the faster you guys get signed up, and there's some details on there, which I'll share more on our social media stuff. You'll get a free shirt if you get signed up by a certain date. And then also I prepare these binders that you'll get for the event. And so if I know how many to bring, that's really important considering I'm bringing those from America. So please get signed up as soon as possible because that'll be really helpful for me on the organizational side. So yeah, man, big news today. We get the dates and the times for the ESPN show. So let's get President Tom Cole in here and talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about the production and, but most importantly, how can we help to make sure that this thing is a success?
Hey guys.
Hey, Tom.
Good evening, sir.
I'm really impressed with the intro there, Mike. I feel like I was going on to something there. Yeah, it's really good.
Well,
really good.
Truth be told, I may have delivered it well, but that Augusta line, that was written by Ryan.
Pretty good.
Because I know nothing about golf. Okay, I've played it, but I don't track it. I don't keep up with it. But that was Ryan.
I got it.
Have you ever heard them introduce Tiger Woods though when he goes out onto the first tee before he strikes, right? Before he even lines up, they'd say, and now introducing Tiger Woods, and they go through like all of his accolades, right? And so whoever's partnered with Tiger Woods has to basically stand there for 5 minutes while they go through all of these accolades of Tiger Woods. And then when they call the next participant, it's like 20 seconds of stuff, and then they go and drive the ball. So again, when you're talking about somebody like Matty Marshall, you could do the same thing, right? When you talk about his accomplishments.
So I'd be the guy next to him with the 20 seconds. So I appreciate you saving me.
Actually, your accolades for somewhat different reasons would probably be just as lengthy, if not more, especially again, like, and I know we keep talking about this and I've heard you talk about it on other shows and I'll keep shouting it until it's no longer true. The condition of our league, the relationship between the players in the league, the activity around the league, like we're in a declining, depressive market space, and tournament paintball for sure, at the national level continues to grow. So, you're doing some things really right, so, kudos to you and your team. Things are great.
I appreciate that.
And Tom, honestly, I would write a Chaucer-like intro for you if I could.
Yeah, there we go. I'll come back on for that one. I want to hear that one. That's for sure.
Well, that'll be the next time you come on. Well,
let's
Michael write your intro.
Okay,
I'll do it.
That'll be after the ESPN airing, and we've knocked it out of the park with that one. So,
yeah, great segue. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so we got the announcement the other day. We got it like at the exact same time that they published it. ESPN did, which I guess they do that so that none of the other sports can kind of get the information out there on their own. But it said 1 a.m. Eastern, which we obviously weren't initially thrilled about. So that's super late Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending upon how you look at it, and which is 10 o'clock Pacific time, which isn't horrible for the Pacific guys. But then we realized it could be a good opportunity, right? Because we could really make some moves in that time slot, where if it had been an 8 o'clock time slot, our paintball community might not have made as big a difference as we wanted it to. But in this new time slot, I do think we can move the needle on it. So
let me ask,
Absolutely.
Was the expectation that you thought we were going to be somewhere in that 8 or 9 o'clock spot?
I mean, obviously I was hopeful. It was probably
Sure.
unrealistic, It's like I just got picked up by Dynasty and I'm expecting to start.
Yeah.
So all the first time sports that are on there are in the late nights. So,
Right.
So I mean, in the end, when I got time to reflect about it after the, being benched for the 1 a.m. slot, I feel better now. So,
and honestly, man, when I saw it, I was kind of happy. Like, I thought we were going to be like 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
yeah,
Like I thought they'd bury it somewhere weird. 10 o'clock on the West Coast is not bad. Even for me, who goes to bed at 8:30, I'm gonna get up, right? I might even try to figure out a way to do some sort of like party at my house. Not party, because I'm definitely not that guy, but like invite some friends over, especially people who maybe don't know paintball, and do some sort of thing at my house where we just stay up and watch it, and that gives them an idea of what I'm doing on the weekends when I'm not at home, and then they'll have a picture.
Yeah,
Well, I want the households. I'm not inviting anyone over. I'm going to tell everyone to stay at their house and watch it.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm definitely going to have. I got 7 TVs. They're all going to be on.
Yeah, I haven't quite
There you
figured out
go.
how they count everything, but yeah, we need to do our best to make sure people are watching it and got it going so that it goes big.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen the production? Have you seen the show, Tom?
I have.
Oh.
So,
I have a whole new line of questioning now.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. So we saw everything's been a little bit of a rush because the event happened before the first. Technically, all the other sports had to deliver their preview the weekend of our event. So we obviously couldn't meet that timeline. So we've been the company that we have working with us and stuff. They've been working really hard to get it out there. So I haven't seen the final cut, but I have seen like the first 11 minutes of what it's going to look like, and it was pretty cool. I thought it was neat.
Well, now it's a half-hour episode, correct?
It is a half-hour episode. So they break it up into the segments before each commercial. So basically, I watched the first segment before the commercial. So, yeah, it's cool. So the graphics are neat. Everything's neat. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see all the feedback from the paintball people at what they think of it. But it's definitely a move in the right direction.
Right. So I want to manage expectations there, because you said you've seen the first 11 minutes. It's basically going to be 22 minutes if I remember my TV production, or 24 minutes, I think.
Yeah, it should be 24 minutes. Yeah, 24 minutes.
So
yeah, I saw the first 11.
Right. So an entire X-Ball match compressed into 24 minutes, which will have barrel cam footage, I believe.
Correct. We have barrel cam footage. So really, the match is only 15 minutes of playtime, right? So basically, we have the whole match, and we have some extra stuff. We have the awards ceremony. They have some background stuff. They have player interviews. They have some sideline interviews. So they got some ambiance shots. I'm not going to give away the whole show, but
Roger that.
So how did the barrel, like the I was going to ask about the helmet cams. Like, how
Yeah,
did
I'm
that
sorry.
go?
We didn't have barrel cams. We had helmet cams. I'm sorry. That was Yeah. So, I've never been a huge fan of the head cams or barrel cams. I didn't really think it was going to give the look that we had, but it was pretty neat. And there's some good stuff about it, right? One, it's got the audio, so it's good to hear what the people are saying. And it's neat for some of the starting shots and when people are like in the huddle and talking to each other. That stuff was neat. It was also a learning curve, you know what I mean? It was a learning curve for us and the production company, to see how things went and stuff that we could do better. It's, and obviously we're looking forward to another show. So that's where our mind is always going, is what we can do next time.
Right.
Are there rumblings that could be a thing?
In my mind, I got my own delusional mind over here that I run with stuff. Yeah. So, so we're using the cornhole model, right? So, I talked to the cornhole guy initially before we did this, several years ago. And basically he said that they did the Ochos in 2020. The next year they bought the rights to the championship. The following year they bought 5 events. So I got that information from the guy at Cornhole. And then the next bit of information I got was just from The Wire, which was basically that last year ESPN had bought 300 hours of programming. So that's a lot of programming. What the value of that programming is the number we don't have.
Right.
Like, I don't know if they're paying $1,000 an hour, $100,000 an hour, $10 an hour. So, and
it's
I will
in the right direction.
So it's definitely in the right direction. I will say the production company, they definitely felt like our setup and the logistics of what we're trying to film was expensive. The amount of cameras that we had, the amount of production people that we have, not to mention even the infrastructure of the event itself, but like all the filming stuff. So me and Kevin, our CFO, I'm going to the actual filming of the Ochos, the rest of the live matches in Rock Hill on Friday of August 2nd. So I'm going to go and see what their production's like. So see if we can get some.
So they thought there was too much production.
They felt like it was, it's going to be expensive to replicate. It's like, if we did get picked up by a network or whatever, anybody, the cost that we're incurring is going to be a lot to try and get covered.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like filming darts or even filming golf, right? Like I heard you talk about golf, right? You're filming darts or cornhole or any of those other sports. I mean, they're significantly easier to film than what we're trying to do.
100%. Well, in the basics, everyone's had this analogy, right? With football, basketball, baseball, golf, there's one ball to follow, and where the ball goes is where the action is. The problem with paintball is there's 50,000 balls, and that's not necessarily where the action is. So
exactly. I mean, and now with AI, they have cameras that just know where the ball is. So it doesn't really help us at all, right? So yeah, there's a lot of challenges the way we decided to do stuff. So yeah. All right, there's a question you guys just pulled up on the screen there. That's pretty cool.
He beat me to it. I was going to do it.
Is there any potential opportunities on the table depending on our viewership numbers, or is this more of a put this out there and see what happens?
So it's a little bit of both. I mean, so it's worded in the contract that we would revisit this right after this based on the numbers. So yes, I mean, obviously they're testing this as well, right? They did, they gave us some compensation for the viewership, right? Which it's not a time buy. So they obviously have an interest in it. And then they're going to watch and see how it goes. So, I mean, if you look in the ESPN press release, we are one of the 3 or 4 sports that they mention actually in the headline, which is cool. We just hope we make it a Sports Center, I guess. That's the final.
That would be awesome, right?
Yeah.
Some clip makes it to Sports Center. That would be fantastic. So what can the community do to be helpful?
Well, we have 2 things. We have a space on our website where you can go and see how to view it. let's just make sure we keep everything positive, right? I think I'm going to make a link to give suggestions for what we should do different next time or whatever, just to get their feedback, so everybody's not just chiming in and being critical on our social media and stuff like that. So we'll have like a private place where people can go and give their ideas. And the other thing is we're also going to have a store and field finder associated with Major League Paintball, because that's going to be one of the ads both in the show and as a commercial. So if any stores and fields out there that haven't got that link, reach out to us to make sure we put you on the store and field finder. Because basically we're going to say, go play paintball, and we're going to have a place for people to go find out where they can go play.
Excellent.
Kind of our give back to the paintball community.
Now, I've heard you talk about how the ESPN people said, "Hey, this was a lot of fun. This was very neat." Have they given you any type of like really positive feedback? Any type?
So they're really excited. I mean, it's funny. Every time we bring outside people to one of our events, they're like blown away with the scope of the event, right? But the big thing that these gentlemen talked about was how much further we are along than most of the other emerging sports, right? So like, and I'm going to use Dynasty as an example, right? But so Dynasty has history, right? Dynasty has fans. Aftershock has history. Aftershock has fans. And we have rivalries. We have all that stuff. If Bob Long showed up, who hasn't played in 10 years, he would be signing autographs for people, right? So we already have that legacy and fandom and all that stuff going on. Cornhole doesn't have that yet. I'm not taking a shot at Cornhole if he watches this, but they just don't have that yet. Even the Cornhole community doesn't necessarily know who the champion was from 3 years ago, right? We are a lot further along in those categories, and that's one of the things they're impressed about. We had the VIP going on, and the whole event was going on, so it was pretty overwhelming for them. So
I do have a question too about some of the setup. Are you going to keep some of the things that we saw at AC, like maybe the size of the pro field and those outside bunkers? And because when the seating and the VIP is that far away, when the crowd participates, it's not impactful. Like with them screaming, like it doesn't really do anything because they're so far away.
So in an ideal situation, we would continue that. And I'm going to give Verbal a shout out. I think Verbal's been asking for this. So I did this for Verbal.
Brian's real smart.
We did this for Verbal.
He's a smart guy.
The challenge is, and the biggest thing that we're facing right now, one of the challenges on the horizon, is we just can't find venues that are as big as what we need them to be. So we're almost a victim of our own success. As these team counts get bigger, we have less and less venues to choose from. The challenge with Vegas right now is they don't want us to be this big. So they want us to use less space than what we used last year.
Right. Because
it's a public park. And they want the park available for the public, not just available for us. So, and I guess they get grief from their constituents, but that's the challenge we're facing is our events are huge now.
Right.
So we have a big footprint, and that pro footprint was large last time. So
yeah, it was awesome though.
It was awesome.
It was awesome. It was great.
But yeah, I like the side things, the bunkers or the side wire things that were basically bunkers, but we're going to use those for signage in the future for outside sponsors or endemic sponsors. Makes it look good. Kind of gives us a little boundary there. Yeah, so I liked everything about it. I thought everything in Atlantic City looked good. So yeah, we'll probably continue that. We'll go back to one set of bleachers so that we can keep the free viewing area large.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Anything else before we let you get back to your family?
Actually, there's no family here today, so that's weird when my wife is she's off working.
In that case, Tom, I would like to bring our next guest in
to
possibly ask you some questions as well, because I'm sure our next guest probably has some questions or some insight that he can share with you as well. What do you think, Ryan? Should we do it? We should do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm sure Maddie is probably sitting in the green room right now just chomping. Yeah, let's bring him in.
All right.
Welcome.
Maddie Marshall. Welcome,
gentlemen.
Sir.
Good evening.
Careful throwing
Welcome
that
to the
word
Coaches
around.
Show.
You guys are definitely, we know a lot of people, and if I had to put some gentlemen in the book, you guys would be them. So, I mean, not that I would, want to walk up to you and, start talking some smack in a bar. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you guys, when you got to lay the politeness on, you guys can do it with the best of them. And then Tom, long time no talk. It's only been maybe all of 45 minutes or an hour.
Yep.
Spoke.
It's a small world we got here. Yeah. I always blown away when I talk to someone, then I find out they've talked to someone else that I know. Like somehow it all ends, like me and you are the only two people that talk, and then someone will be like, I talked to Maddie. I was like, damn it, I just talked to him. I feel like it's real. Well,
when we go back, as long as we go back and have as much stuff as we work on, you gotta every now and then you gotta have an hour and a half long conversation. That's just kind of how it works.
That's for sure.
I
now,
do
before
have to
I
ask
unleash you.
Do either one of you have conversations on the phone that are less than an hour and a half?
No. Yeah.
No.
Well, yeah, I do. With my mom and with my wife.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I thought we were talking just paintball specific.
Do you have paintball conversations that are less than an hour and a half?
Yeah,
no.
Right.
Which kind of puts a little monkey wrench in the works sometimes because, if I got to call up you, Ryan, or you, Mike, or Tom, or whatever, it's not like I can just get on the phone for 10 minutes, whatever. If it's like, hey, you're going to do the show, cool. All right, sweet. But that's rare. That's text message territory. If I'm actually going to call somebody, I need to have some time, carved out, because that could be, I had probably 3 or 4 hour and a half long conversations, but that's part of my job, is to, have long conversations and, kind of hear stories and wrap my head around how things are so we can, maneuver towards the future in the best way possible, et cetera, et cetera. But no, not very often do I have conversations.
I don't think I go a day without a call about formats either. Someone suggesting me a format.
Well, it's funny, Maddie, usually when you and I are on the phone, we don't just talk paintball. We talk books. We talk history. We talk psychology.
I love me some books.
That's right. Same. So it's kind of funny. But before I unleash you and your questions on Tom, I did see this question, and I've actually been talking to some people regarding, someone reached out recently regarding some producers from the UFC. And I wanted to get Tom's insight on this. I'll pull this question up. Anything else Tom can say about the UFC thing? Now, from what I understand, there's some producers that have that are interested in our sport, are wanting to add a human element to it and do some form of documentary-esque type behind the scenes, day in the life of some people. And I just wanted to, one of the viewers had that question. I had planned on asking that question as well. And maybe Maddie knew something about it. And I just wanted to get it out there and see if there was anything you could shine a light on.
Is this for me or for Maddie? For me or Maddie?
It's open to both. It's for you initially, of course, because you're the one who initially
I'll go through my beginning part. So, yeah, we started talking to the UFC guys a while ago. They had a pitch for us as far as trying to cover, the behind-the-scenes stuff. And I really felt like it's a two-part process, right? We needed the show of the game and we needed the story, right? So both of them, you don't really have one without the other. And so they've continued to move forward with that, and now they have traction, and I believe they're going to start filming here soon. It's been a couple weeks since I talked to those guys, but yeah, I know we're making available to them some of our footage to make sure they got the on-field footage that they need to kind of help tell the story, and they're going to start going behind the scenes and start filming some stuff.
Excellent.
And they do the show for UFC. They do the I don't know what their exact involvement with UFC, whether they're employees or subcontractors, but they do the shows, the two similar shows to what they're pitching for us for UFC.
Outstanding. So quick question that actually, while I've got Maddie here and we've got you, Tom, and we've been talking about the ESPN thing, let's talk about the commentary. Have you heard the commentary or the overlap or the overlay for the show? Was Maddie involved in any of that? Or did ESPN had their own commentators?
Go ahead, Maddie.
Yeah, I could speak to that fluently and at length. Yes, I was involved. And, shout out to Scott Kono and the crew from the production company that put the show together. I'd actually worked with them probably about 10 years ago. Only one editor still there. But, yeah, they were you know, I mean, it was a grind. You know, we had a very small window to produce that show, just based on air dates and when the actual AC thing happens. And, you know, well, hey, welcome to life, right? This is just how things are sometimes. But they were very professional. So Evan Budrovich is my co-host. They heard his voice during the final. He kind of came up in college football and has done a ton of different stuff past years. Has a very smooth and, you know, gorgeous voice. He was a pro, you know, so he picked things up. He was very diligent about trying to understand terminology. He was there all weekend, jumped up with us a few times, and then did even more homework heading in. I was the, you know, the other voice in there as well too. And then we kind of had to redo, you know, because essentially when you're dealing with the time frames, not the production time frames, that's part of it, but it's more of the actual time frame for the show. You know, you're sitting on that many points, you know, that was played. You can't put that many points into a 22-minute long show. You need time for ads, and it's a half-hour show. So kind of you have to make some drastic cuts as to what actually gets in and doesn't get in. So we had to go back and completely redo everything. So, you know, we had to go into a studio session, and, you know, and then I took intricate notes. I think my document was something like 4,000 words, 5,000 words long. Every single gunfight, every angle, you know, the lines and why guys were making strategy. I sent that to the producers. It was a grinder. The event was a grinder because it was 4 days. We obviously had to put a lot in to get the, you know, the extra stuff for the show in, you know, in the can to produce. And then after that was also a grinder too, to actually, you know, to get it all kind of done. So, but yeah, they did, you know, I mean, I saw the rough cut we did the VO2, so I didn't get to see the bells and whistles they put in as far as graphics. But yeah, man, they were great. Scott and his crew were great. Shout out to G, the editor. That dude would just send me clips of, like, you know, here's point 1, point 2, point 3, 4, and it would just kind of like his rough edit. I'd put my notes in there. So it was very much a collaborative process. I mean, it's like anything. I mean, any documentary I've ever worked on, any TV show I've ever done, whatever, anything I've ever written, anything I've ever built in my yard. It's like, wow, God, I wish I had, you know, 2 more weeks to do this, because then you could make it even better. But, you know, things got to get out the door. And you know, I really like the cut. I thought that the, you know, adding in the, you know, that there was some discussion earlier before I jumped on about the GoPros on everyone's heads. I mean, you know, that adds a lot to it, because when a guy's making a move, now sometimes there has to be a little bit of triage on the shot, in the sense where you have multiple angles of something that's happening. So you're cutting to those as it's happening, but then do you want that point of view right when the guy bunkers them? Because then maybe you can't see the other angle of him getting shot from across. So those are the types of conversations that are had behind the scenes as we're building this show. So,
right.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Very cool. So what did you think about the helmet cam thing?
It provide, you know, again, you know, when we sit here and start having conversations about hashtag grow the game, or, you know, and we're trying to be benevolent about the future view of what we're all doing here, like, would I want to wear a GoPro on my head? Probably not. Would I do it because it's for the greater good? Absolutely. And so shout out to all the dudes that, you know, bit the bullet and just like, yeah, dude, throw this bulky ass thing on, you know, on my head. And again, it's not that bulky, you know, I mean, and technology has come so far, but you are putting a GoPro on the head. But the thing about because they're like, oh, why didn't we put them on the barrels? Sure, we can barrel mount a GoPro. I mean, yeah, brackets exist for that. But the thing is that when you get it from the head perspective, it looks like a first person shooter, you know? Yeah. So, you know, part of the demographic that we're trying to get out there when we put our grow the game hats on and have these discussions is the gamers. You know, I mean, there's billions and billions and billions of dollars. I mean, if you look at, you just do, you know, you don't have to do it right this second, but go Google how much money video games make. I mean, obviously everyone knows it's a lot, but then look at it versus box office for movies. It is way bigger. And so the fact that first-person shooters have become, which also kind of angers me sometimes from when I put, you know, when I'm like the old salty paintball vet, when they're like, oh, well, you know, because some people, like, I'll get random messages from people like, why don't we use the word elimination? And, you know, why do we have to say kill? I'm like, dude, have you played Call of Duty? How much money does Call of Duty make? How many millions of people play that? We're way less violent than Call of Duty, you know, like, So it's just, it's kind of one of those things. But when you put that GoPro on the head, it gives that that first person shooter, because you can see the gun, you can see the loader, so different positions. Again, how into the woods do we want to get with this? There's different positions placed upon that marker, but provide different points of view. So it being on the head really sucks you in, because when you see those shots, you're like, oh, dude, I'm in this gunfight. Which is a big allure for first person shooter games across the board for 2 decades. So how did I think of it? I thought that to me, I have to go to it's the hierarchy of need. The hierarchy of need here is that we need, as a sport, to be able to get that type of footage to bring people in, so that they can really dive in emotionally, viscerally into that experience. And from the barrel cam, it's just not the same. Loader would also not be the same. But from that head perspective, I feel like it is a visceral angle that humans are emotional robots, man. When you show me something amazing and I see a first person perspective, like, you are sucked into that. And so I think that was a cool ad. Is it a pain in the ass for the players? Of course it's a pain in the ass. But wearing goggles is a pain in the ass the first time you do it. Remember you go out play paintball and you're like, I had to wear this thing all day. As I reffed when I was a teenager, 16 years old, it was one of my first jobs. And, you spend most of the day when you're on a private group telling people to keep your goggles on, because wearing goggles sucks. So yeah, wearing a GoPro on your head, not ideal when you're playing in the finals, but everyone else has it. So I think that for the hierarchy of need here, I understand if anyone was frustrated having to do that, but our hierarchy of need is that we need to be able to provide that angle to put our best foot forward. For the general populace.
And these were high definition cameras. So you guys have both seen footage. How's the paint showing up?
It's, I'm looking at it through, so I didn't get to see, I definitely saw high definition footage, and you can see some streams, but when I'm in the studio, I got all these different windows up, and I've got different views of things. And, I don't have a gigantic screen. So to be honest, I'm not really sure.
I wouldn't say the paint showed up well.
Okay.
We haven't seen the full colored version. They do some color enhancements and stuff, but the paintballs are still hard to see.
Yeah, and how do we got bright shells out there? Unless we want to make the caliber bigger, I don't know how. It's high definition cameras. Maybe when we get to whatever, it's just kind of one of those. You can do that with angles. Slow motion is definitely a part of that as well too. There are some slow-mo shots in it, at least in the cut that I saw. So that's that definitely. I think that adding in slow motion replays that are where things are sped down, so you can see that guy dodge that ball or get under that stream. That's where, again, we're kind of highlighting the best, because everyone knows when you play paintball, time slows down, and when you get really good at it, you definitely are out there like Neo in the Matrix, reading the streams and dodging paintballs. So that's part of the experience of playing. And again, it is a complicated thing to film. Tom had mentioned earlier about, cornhole. Yeah, cornhole is probably one of the easiest things you could ever make a show around. There's 4 people playing. There's, 2 objects of, one people are throwing, bags into one hole. It's it's indoors, it can control all the lighting. There's no weather. It's not a 4-day marathon. There's that's a relatively, again, no disrespect to the cornhole people, but it is a relatively simplistic thing compared to what we're doing.
That's twice we've had to say no disrespect to the cornhole people.
Well, I'm not trying to. I'm not, when I get on interviews, I'm not trying to piss anybody off, but it's it just is what it is, dude. Paintball is very complicated to film. It's complicated to understand. Yeah. And then as we get into, a little bit more thorough conversations, more nuanced conversations about, okay, well, what do we do then? Tom brought out a new format. We've tried tons of different formats. I've been, I started playing paintball. We were playing 10 Man in the Woods with 25-minute long games. And again, longer story. But, there's been just nothing but tweaks and changes. Now, everybody tweaks and changes. Baseball's been around for 140 years. They still tweak and change things. They made some drastic changes recently. Why did they do that? Well, they wanted to speed the games up. And there was, my brother-in-law is a huge, I grew up playing baseball, so pretty big baseball fan, but nothing compared to my brother-in-law. And he was just like, it's a travesty what they're doing to this game. I can't believe the changes that are made. This is going to destroy baseball, and I've been hearing that for 30 years. It's like every single change, every little tweak that's made, there's some vocal minority. It's like, this is a travesty what we're doing. This game started in the woods. We got to keep it in the woods. We need to go back to 15 man, whatever. So it's just kind of one of those things.
Yeah, it's never ending, that part of it. That's for sure. Never ending, that part of it.
But I do think that it's an interesting conversation just because people they do care, right? So I think a lot of the times when you hear people saying, hey, I think this is a good idea for a different format, or here's a tweak you can make, I do think it's because people give a shit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a passion project for everybody. I mean,
right.
If I could count up the amount of hours that people in the paintball industry have dedicated to trying to run tournament paintball, right? Like they spent half their workday talking about how we should tweak something, as well as the players, right? Like I said, there's not a day that goes by they don't have someone calling me about some type of format, scheduling, whatever, something about how we're doing it in a tweak. And yes, it's definitely enlightening that our people are so passionate. So
excellent.
Yeah, Tom,
exciting time.
Before we let you go, I mean, I got questions for you, but we could spend the next hour and a half on those. Well, no, I mean, and I got to get you on our show too for Go Sports, so we, I'll have questions for you then as well. But what's the, I always wondered, I mean, because you have to spend so much time talking to people about everything. What eats up most of your time? Like if you had to do a pie chart or pie graph as far as time discussing certain things, is it like players complaining that a ref messed up, or is it vendors being like, we don't like our spot, or is it like, like where do you feel that, what's the biggest time vampire for your life?
Facebook stalking the people that say stupid stuff online.
Don't do that. What? Don't read the comments.
Why are you reading the comments?
I'm like,
what are you doing?
What did I do to this kid to make him hate me so much?
Gosh.
No, I'm kidding. It's I don't really get as many complaints about the reffing as everyone thinks. Reffing is what it is, right? I don't know if it's ever going to be perfect, and I think all sports deal with that. I would say mostly my time is eaten up by like those type of how we can make the game better, whether it's from a overall paintball business portion of like how we get more people to play, or how we tweak our game to make it more televisable, more player friendly, cheaper, more exciting, without ruining the game that we currently have. And that's the never ending problem. We had 3 million people play paintball recreationally last year, right? And 10,000 of those moved over to play in tournaments. So that's not a good conversion rate for anybody. So we need to find ways to kind of make that an easier step, and that's our goal. But yeah, so that's pretty much what my day is timed up with that. Starts early with Europe, right? That's the other weird thing is we have Europe now. So early in the morning, we deal with the European stuff, and then we move into the day and come over to this side. So.
Yeah. And I mean, again, something I wouldn't mind speaking to you at length about later, but how is, now that we've had a couple events over there, how's the vibe in Europe right now? Because, COVID did wonders. Again, it was a strange thing, but just how it all shook out through fate was that, oh, okay, we have this disease going around. All right, we're shutting all this stuff down. Well, can we do outdoor stuff? Yeah, you guys can do outdoor stuff. But I was talking to people that own fields, and particularly people that own fields in metropolitan areas. But they're like, dude, I did 30% more in 10 months in 2021 than I did in, or whatever in 2020 or 2021, depending on who you talk to, than I did in 12 months in 2019. And then when I would talk to the Europeans, they're like, oh, COVID just crushed us. And I'm like, how? Like, COVID crushed you guys? It was like a giant steroid boost for us in the States, for all of paintball and pretty much everyone I knew that owned a paintball business.
It's the reason for that's like multidimensional, right? So one, the Europeans took COVID more seriously than we did, for right, wrong, or indifferent, right? So they definitely shut stuff down longer and definitely affected paintball more. There was also a product situation that no one really thinks about, that, China was obviously shut down, so deliveries from over there was delayed. So there was all sorts of production problems, and the U.S. got a lion's share of that product from a paintball community point of view. because this is the main market for a lot of the United States places. So they kind of triaged a little bit of the European market off a little bit. So it was a twofold whammy there where they got shut down longer and we were in such a crunch to get inventory here that everybody was just like, just send it straight to the US. And then it was just getting used up here. So it wasn't really like a fair thing. And yes, Europe definitely got crushed by it from a paintball scene point of view, in my opinion. But it is healthy and it's coming back. I'm a big fan of the not having all the U.S. players over there in the U.S. teams. I think the European teams are coming along well. I still think I think player for player, they're as good as the U.S. teams. I think coaching is their weakness. That's a little plug there for your coaches thing. But, I mean, their time management still isn't as sophisticated as in the U.S. They're basically just playing multiple 5-man matches. You know what I mean? They're not really playing the whole strategy of trying to play for time or all the different nuances that we have in the U.S. So I would like to see that get improved upon. But other than that, I mean, I think it's a healthy, vibrant little market. Some of their players are starting to get picked up by American teams, and which has been the reverse of how it's been for a while. So I'm excited about it. Actually, when I'm over there, I'm really pumped for European paintball.
Yeah, from a coaching perspective, I'd like to just make a comment on that. You know, watching this last event, there really was, in my opinion, and maybe you guys disagree, but the teams that performed really well, you could see they were adapting. You could see they were changing. You could tell they had scouted. Then there was those teams that you could tell the coaching perspective or their approach to the game was maybe not as versatile. And I chalk that up to coaching, right? Obviously, I'm not in the pits. I'm not seeing or hearing, but I am watching the matches. I am watching the matchups. And it did seem, I agree with you. I think the European players certainly have grown tremendously in the last 4 years. However, it does feel like the coaching is a little bit stagnant, but you're seeing them bring in coaches. Marcelo Margot coming over to the Lucky 15s. You've got a lot of these coaches in Europe. There's a few coaches in Europe who really know what they're doing. And then there's those that, you know, you kind of get the idea that they're guessing, right?
And they're kind of
making it up as they go.
And I don't think they have the community that we have is amongst the coaches, right? So like when someone makes a weird decision, you know, it's 3-4 and they concede making it 5-3, you know, you guys are going to analyze that and talk about it like, well, that was a dumb call or that was a good call or whatever, right? So you're learning without actually having to experience it. Because we're dealing with a bunch of different countries, a bunch of different languages, and they don't see each other as often, I think they don't have that transference of information like we have in the U.S. And I've noticed it more now in the past 5 years that you guys, there's a little coaches circuit, no offense, right? That kind of everybody talks to each other and everybody kind of like, you know.
Nobody talks to me, Tom.
Yeah, they do.
Nobody talks.
And so everybody's kind of learning from one another, right? Like we know Joe, you know, we know what people are going to do and what their styles are, and we talk to each other, and everybody's learning. And like I said, I think they're a little behind on that, but I think they've come rapidly forward. You know, especially when you have people like SK over there coaching or Marcelo, and also when you have the players going back and forth between, you know, you got Axel playing for both Impact and X Factor, you know, and then him going back and saying, hey, this is what a real coach does. You know what I mean? Or this is what their coaches do. I shouldn't say a real coach. This is what an American coach is doing. So, yeah.
Now, there is some argument to be made, however, that the Europeans are on the layout for what, 3-4 weeks? So you could possibly make that argument that that's why you're seeing this leap and compared to their U.S. counterparts. And by the way, any European coach listening, I'm not insulting anyone. I'm simply stating that there's definitely a clock management issue that I saw at this last event.
100%.
There's a couple
that's
of
the
little
biggest
nuances. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some
the
nuances
biggest thing I
there
see
that
clock
make a big change. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Clock management.
I did notice when I was coaching there last year, the Europeans still have this like belief that they have some kind of secret formula. Like they haven't yet realized that somebody else probably knows what you know, and it's okay to share it. And like I think here in the U.S., like egos have shrank a bit, and so we do all share a pretty significant amount of information, not only with each other but also with all the coaches coming up, like all the divisional coaches. And I still think in Europe, and again, this is just my perspective from being there last year, when I would when I would have coaches come and ask me, hey, can I see how you're, calling plays? And yeah, of course, man, here, you can have a sheet. I'll send you the Excel spreadsheet if you want. You can make it for all the events going forward if you want. And they were shocked that I was willing to give it to them. And I'm like, man, this is not rocket science. This is not like some sort of proprietary thing. Like, if this helps you and it helps your group, I want you to have it. And I still think there's this kind of weird vibe over there a little bit that, like, I don't want to help that guy because he may beat me. It's like, that's the wrong attitude, but okay.
I got a pretty funny story. It's not really, well, the coach was there too, but there wasn't really a coach, more the captain at the time. But the first time that I went to Europe, it might have been the second time, whatever. We went over to Toulouse in '99, and so we were staying at this with the Ironman, and we were staying at this bowling. It was called like the Bowling Inn. It was like 20 minutes outside of town. It was super cheap to stay there. And we roll up and it was just a bizarre hotel. They had a bowling alley. It was actually pretty dope. They had a bowling alley and a bar in the lobby. And it was huge. The rooms were microscopic, but all hotel rooms in Europe are microscopic. So like whatever, I'm over 6 foot tall, so it's not fun to sleep in those beds or walk around in those halls. But so we get in after a long ass day, dump our gear, and we're like, dude, there's a bar downstairs. Let's go get a beer. So we go down there, and who do we run into? We run into the Iranian national team, and they're in the out, we saw them at the bar. We started bullshitting with them, and then they were also bowling right next to us. So who do we hang out with for the next couple hours? The Iranian team. Can't remember their names. But to speak to what you were saying, they were telling us what these couple guys were just drunk, and they were, I don't know how much they can drink at home, but these guys were hammer drunk, bowling like wild men, having a blast. Like, these dudes were having so much fun. We were having fun with them. They were super cool to hang out with. But so, because we're like, oh, what team you play for? Oh, we're from Iran. Oh, cool. That's all, right on. And then I realized, we're playing these dudes tomorrow. And then, and so I asked them, I'm like, yeah, so how do you guys train? Like, how you guys been, doing? And like, oh, well, we just got our team together last year, but, we've been training very, very hard. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what type of training are you guys doing? Like, oh, it's a secret. We've been training with the Iranian, special forces. And I'm like, cool. They're like, dude, people don't know what's coming, and I'm like, well, okay, well, can I get a little bit of a glimpse to this? And they're like, you'll sure. We're playing you guys. And like, no, you'll see tomorrow. You'll see. Dude, right. We smashed these guys in 45 seconds in a 7-man game. We beat the shit out of that team, and it wasn't even close. But it was kind of one of those instances where I'm like, okay, you guys have some super secret paintball formula that no one has employed before, and you guys are now going to be the greatest team on planet Earth. Good luck, dude. Good luck. I hope you're right. Because if you do, every time someone figures out formula, coaches, players, whatever it may be, bounce shots, as soon as somebody figures that out, this is a Survivor Island out here, man. Like, somebody's going to figure that out. And then through osmosis, this goes to everyone else. And it kind of speaks to your point that there's not much you can hide out here. It's like, I understand, and I try to, depending on who I'm talking to or what we're doing, what type of piece of content we're creating, yeah, sure. I'm not going to ask you your game plan before you, if the Hurricanes are playing AC Diesel, I'm not going to be like, Mike, point one, what are you going with? You're going to send C-Right to Snake or to D3, bro? I'm not going to ask that question because you're not going to give me that answer. But the second that you start playing and you play 7-8 points out there, best believe that Ryan's going to know, all right, well, they're sending them 33% of the time. It's like, it's not a secret. Mm-hmm. So I do really appreciate that, players and coaches particularly, because, with playing, it's a little bit different. We've been doing this a long time. No one's reinventing the wheel on how to play paintball at this point in time. Right. It's about everyone knows the principles. It's about, can you execute the principles? But coaching is also becoming, an execution. That's what it's all about. Because you guys could set up the coolest game plan in the world. And if, I don't know, some freak ball hits your guy on the way in, or it bounces, that guy makes it, or it bounces 3 times, whatever. Like, it's, game plans are a huge part of it, but they can only do so much. So this secrecy is a little bit ridiculous when we're taking if we're looking at it from Mount Everest and we're looking down on it, it's a bit ridiculous. So I'm with you guys on that.
Yeah, totally.
Although I do believe that was one of the... Oh, I'm sorry, Ryan. I just make a real quick point. I do believe
of course.
and Ryan and I talked about this a lot. We've talked about how the coach brings that culture to the team. So there's a work ethic. There's certain things. I do believe the coach is playing a much more important part in paintball today. Because let's face it, I make this joke all the time. I wrote an article about it. I thought the idea of a paintball coach was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen, right? I've heard of paintball leaders, paintball captains, all these things. Then I met Paul Richards, and that changed everything for me. And when I realized that he was playing a 5-man offensive, defensive, man-to-man spread and from basketball on paintball, it was incredible. It opened my eyes to a lot of different concepts. But I did also want to add the fact that I like to spend a lot of time. You talked about Europe. I think you can apply those European teams. You can apply that to the divisional teams. I love to spend a lot of time. That's usually where I am. If I'm not with my team at these matches, watching pro matches, I'm in the divisional pits. I like to walk up and down and watch divisional paintball, talk to some divisional coaches, talk to some divisional players. I think a lot more pro coaches need to be doing that as well, because it's interesting to see the thought process that's out there. And we could fix paintball pretty quickly if we could just get a hold of them a little earlier and help them understand that there is a foundational process, and many of them, probably 95 to 90% of them, are not following. And just a little guidance, a little comment here or there can change the trajectory of so many different teams or players for that matter, and coaches for that matter. So I think you guys all make excellent points, and I just wanted to babble about that for a moment. I'll shut up now.
That's a great point. Yeah, I was just going to say exactly what we're talking about is, last year when I think Tom and we were in Drew, and we were talking about coaching, and, we wish he could get some more mentors and guys to go over, but I don't want to have all the US guys back here. I just want more coaching and help with that. And, it was shortly after that we started the coaches show. And then we started talking about, well, maybe we can do some coaches clinics. And then Drew was like one of the very first ones that was like, yeah, we got to do one there. And so really excited about the opportunity to go over there and share some information. And Mike and I'll be there the whole weekend. I guess we're going to do some commentary, but then also just be hanging around. So hopefully coaches and players feel comfortable walking up and asking for information, because we'll happily give it away. So anything else for Tom before we drop him off?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I appreciate you guys having me.
Tom, we got to do.
Tom's like, I'm ready to get out of here.
We got to do a show soon too, bro. You're on the podcast circuit right now, dude. You got to hype up the show.
Yeah, I'm the hype man for sure. That's what I'm known for. The hype man.
He's totally
the hype man. Yeah, no worries. I'm good. Love to be on here, and let me know what I can do to help.
Thanks, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have
Tom.
a good night.
Have a great
All right,
evening.
guys. Thank you.
All right. So first of all, real quick, a little history. The only reason why the coaches show is around these days is because of these two gentlemen opposite me, and their little nefarious plan.
Oh, it was a plan. It was the plan.
But
it worked perfectly.
It did. Look at you now, Mike. Look at you now, Mike.
Maddie, I never forget the first time you came up to speak to me. It was Lone Star. I guess that would have been 21, 22. I can't remember, but it was our second pro event. It was a minor. It was the Lone Star, and you came up and you're like, Coach, can we talk to you for a moment? And I remember looking around going, no, you don't want to talk to me. you want to talk to these guys over here.
We're talking. If you got some time, brother, I need to bend your ear for a bit here. Let's talk.
It was crazy, but and the rest is history, as they say. So, by the way, for those who are wondering, I don't like cameras, and I don't like. But
neither do I. That's why I told you. So let me tell my version of this story.
Oh,
so
boy.
Look, I'll keep it short, but look, I've spoken on this in different podcasts before. This was not something that I wrote up in my mission plan when I was seeing the high school counselor, right. Or in college, for what I was going to do. I was the last kid to volunteer to speak when I had to read. Never liked doing anything that had anything to do with cameras or talking in front of people. Not something I was scared, and then over time, as I became slightly more confident, and I dealt with anxiety when I was a teenager too. But then as I got older, kind of grew out of it a little bit, people kept asking me to speak on things, and I'm like, all right, let's just say yes. That was kind of my kind of my philosophy. Like, let me just say yes to things and we'll see how this goes, and it ended up working out. Had some cool opportunities over time, and in order to get myself to this position here. But the thing is that, man, if you're going to gain confidence in something, you probably should be pretty confident in what you're good at, whatever that may be. If you're good at something and everyone in your life is like, hey man, you got charisma, or you're good at whatever, building shelves, fixing cars, I don't know, whatever it may be. If you have an innate talent to do something, well, if you can't draw confidence from that, you're never going to be able to draw confidence from anything. That's, if you have people that and respect that are older than you. I'm not older than you, Mike, but we're pretty close in age, but whatever, more experience. And they're just like, hey, you need to do this, whatever it may be. And it was the same thing with writing. People kept telling me when I was going to school for business, because I was managing a movie theater, and I had to do these different things when I was younger to make money, because they always had to have a job. And again, welcome to life. And people are like, man, you're really well spoken. Maybe you should think about doing some sort of writing thing, or like that, and you love reading books, and you've been doing this. My parents were like, dude, you've been reading books since you were in kindergarten. Like, maybe this is something you should look into. And I was like, nah, can't do that. Can't make money at it. Can't make a niche out of that. But again, longer story as far as my trajectory to this. But I met, and you're one of those people that I heard about before I met you. So I always know the greats, like good people. Ryan, same thing. I heard about you before I met you, even though I've known you way longer. But, I kept hearing Mike Bianca this, Mike Bianca that. Oh, he's smart. Oh, he's well-spoken. He's a gentleman, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, cool. This is a dude I feel like I need to know. And then your team showed up even before the Hurricanes got there. And then the team shows up, and, then I got a chance to talk to you, force you to be on the show. It's like, oh, hey, you guys got knocked out, dude, go crush a whiskey and get up there with me, brother. Like, whatever you got to do, we need to get you in this seat, because, you have good things to say and you're well-spoken, speak with very little verbal clutter, have intelligent, nuanced things to say in a short amount of time. Like, these are things that are hard to teach. So anyway, and so then when Ryan was like, I want, we don't do this coaches show, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and then I just shared my experience with you. Like, dude, I don't want to do any of this either. I just happened to be like, so you're really well spoken and you're good at this. You're a hell of a coach, obviously one of our best. And so it was just like, dude, this is tailor made. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this show, I was talking to Ryan about it. I'm like, this show has to happen, bro. We got to make this happen. What do we need to do to make this happen? So, yeah, I was just happy that Ryan was forceful about, understand, again, recognizing talent is like one of my favorite things that I ever saw when it comes to success. Again, I feel like in anything, is that I was watching this show. It was a documentary, and this is years ago. This is like 15 years ago, probably. I think it's just called The Producers. And it's a documentary film about the most successful producers in Hollywood. And it interviews a ton of these guys. And the one thing that always stuck with me is that, and this is, again, respect to Ryan Gray, but he was like, so they were interviewing this very successful producer. This dude's, multi-millionaire many times over. I think he won some Academy Awards. I can't remember his name because, again, it's so long ago. But he said, they asked him, like, what's the secret to this? And he said, he thought for a second, and he goes, producing movies and bringing, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, and bringing these things to life, because you have to get a cast and get a director and get a music. You have to, there's all these moving puzzle pieces, but it comes down to taste and tenacity. You have to have the ability to taste, to look at the world and see, okay, what do people like? What do people want to consume? And then the tenacity to go out and make that a reality. And that's everything, man. That's a pro paintball team. That's a business. That's a novel. That's a TV show, whatever. That's everything. 100%. You have to have the taste and the tenacity to do it. So
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. By the way, I love the taste tenacity thing. Fantastic. I'm stealing that. Do not get me wrong. I am very thankful that Ryan talked me into this.
Well, just to be clear,
learned so much. I've learned so
Maddie
much.
said, what do I have to do to help? And I said, well, when you see him, ask him about the show. And he goes, I'll do one better. I'll just congratulate him on the show. I was like,
live
right,
on Go
perfect.
Sports.
Hey, dude.
he did that during a match.
We're playing chess, not checkers out here, boys. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying?
That's absolutely right.
It was perfect.
But no, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. And thank you, Ryan, for being such a great mentor and friend, along with you as well, Maddie. I greatly appreciate it. This has been a great learning experience, and I've loved every minute of it. Now, I want to get back to the coaches show and get back to coaching, the topic of coaching. Let's get back into paintball. Maddie Marshall. All right. And
Yes,
Ryan and I were talking about this earlier. You have seen more paintball than probably anybody in this sport. What are your thoughts on the current condition of the pro league? And let me set this up for you. I made a note here. Only 4 of the 20 professional teams this season have not seen Sunday. Only 4. The top 3 teams are the only teams who have not made a Sunday every event. So there's a lot of interesting stories going on out there.
Right? Missed a Sunday.
Oh, missed. Yes. Only the top 3 teams, right? That would be Red Legion, Houston Heat, and San Antonio X Factor. Those are the only 3 teams that have made Sunday every event. Every other team has had at least 1 big miss, or in some cases 2 big misses. And then there are only 4 teams that have not seen Sunday. However, one of those teams is currently 11th and have been consistent with 11th, 12th place finishes. That's Paintball Fit. So there's a lot of great stories going on in professional paintball right now. What's your take on it?
I love it, man. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I've been doing this for so long. I'm 46 years old. I've been playing this since I was 15 now. It's my 31st year in the game. And so I've been doing this a lot longer than I haven't. And I have seen a lot. Seen every format. I've traveled extensively. And what is going on right now, I do truly think it's different than the previous golden age, because this is a more sustainable thing, barring the end of the world as we know it. But this is a more sustainable golden age, because before it was an influx of money, and we were just taking rich people's money and just lighting it on fire. That's not where we're at now. And, when we bulked out the pro league from 16 to 20 teams, I was a little scared, because I was like, man, there's a decent chance that some of these lower division teams, or like these lower ranked pro teams, are just going to, because again, I'm just going, you always have to reference, what has happened. It's like they say, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. So, I was a little scared, because I'm like, man, if we bulk the team out, like, can these semi-pro teams are about to come up, can they hang with these pro teams? And then now we've just had nothing but year after year where, and even heading in, I remember in the off season, a couple of these off seasons, I'm like, oh man, some of these top teams are really bulking up. I don't know how the parity is going to be. Let's see. That's another thing too. It's like, be careful making claims, because that's another thing. Like, if I'm ever like, Mike Ryan, you want to bet on this? If I say I want to bet $100 on something, there's a damn good chance that I really, really like, I'm past the point of conjecture. Like, I'm dead set on that being reality. And I do not do that often. I mean, I'll go play roulette or craps with, roulette is terrible odds, but it's fun. But when I'm like, hey, let's bet on this. And when I was like, I don't know if I could bet on it this year, for the parity. And then, and sure enough, the game continues to impress me. So, and I feel it kind of goes back to part of the conversation that we were talking about before, with the fact that you can go, because before it was a mystery. Like, why were the Ironman Aftershock and the All-Americans, when I was coming up, why were they the best teams? That was a mystery. For me to watch the Ironman play live, first of all, there was barely any footage on them playing in the early to mid 90s. And then for me to watch them play, it was in Texas, Ryan, actually, where I was like in Dallas, and it was cold, and the older dudes were like, I snuck away from them, so they had to come find me, which gave me more time, but I got yelled at, but whatever. I didn't care, because like I was like, I want to master this game. I want to be one of the best. I want my team to be one of the best. I need to find out what the masters are doing. And so I snuck away from the team and went and found out, had to go get a paper schedule and figure out where the Ironman playing at what time. It was a little delayed, whatever. But so I watched the game live. I still remember the whole game in my head, or at least from what I could see from the sidelines, and you couldn't see much. So it was a mystery. So it took a while now you can just go watch tape. You can literally just sit there and Go Sports or YouTube or whatever, or somebody's practice, whatever. And you can just watch it over and over and over and over again. So the form of the gunfight, not a mystery. Strategy, not a mystery. how teams play, their tendencies. Not a mystery. This is all discoverable information. And so I think that has helped hyperspeed the parity. And so, the short answer is, this is amazing. I'm incredibly excited about it because it makes my job easier too. When I have to sit there, for years and just like literally years and just talk about the same guys. And yes, Dynasty, as in some people are like, Maddie, stop talking about Dynasty. We know they're the greatest ever and they've won half the tournaments. I'm like, what do you want me to say, dude? That's what just happened. It's like when people come up and they're like, Maddie, say good things about me. I'm like, that's not how this equation works, bro. If you get out there and crush everyone, I'm forced to talk about how good you are. But if you're playing catch that day, well, I got to talk about how you're playing catch. Say it, see it. This is just how it is. I'll add my analysis. But other than that, dude, this is 100% up to you, brother. Like, and sure, if you're Yosh Rao or Marcelo or some of the guys that you guys have on your teams that have earned the right for me to be like, ooh, a little bit of uncharacteristic early death there from Bell, or wow, like Mouse just has not been attacking that snake slide like we've seen in the past. Well, you get that credit, like you earned that. You earned that respect. But for the most part, that's not how it works. So yeah, it's been a blessing, man, because it's so fun because there's so many stories to tell. So when I'm sitting there and I'm preparing for a show, because I had take copious notes and my wife calls them my tweaker notes, and people are like, I could create a spreadsheet for you. And I'm like, no, it's proven that when you write something down, it helps you remember things. And you look at all pro broadcasters, that's what they do. And again, mimic the masters until you become a master. And even then be willing to change. But so, yeah, it's been amazing because we just have so many compelling stories, 20 pro teams, 200 pro players. We get the WNXL, the semi-pro drama that's going on. There's so much stuff that's happening right now. It makes my job easier. So when I'm sitting on a show, I'm not like, and yes, again, with Dynasty, I have had to, okay, well, how do I go and create a piece of narrative content where I got to write another VO talking about how dope Dynasty is? I've definitely had to do that a decent amount in the past 4 years after doing it for 20, so that, but other than that anomaly, which again speaks to how amazing their run has been, and they're not currently first place. Dynasty's sitting down at fourth right now, and it would take a minor miracle for them to catch Legion for the series title, but we'll completely change our tune if they win the next two events. I'm sure you guys have something to say about that, and there's a bunch of other teams based on how this is all shut down or shook out. So it's been an absolute blessing for any longtime fan of the game. Anyone currently getting into it, it makes it even more captivating because at the end of the day, like, we have to give people a reason to give a shit, and with just, if you're singing the same song over and over again, again, I was always say, pick your metaphor. So if we want to talk about a song you've heard a million times or a show you've watched before, it's like The Wire was one of the most amazing fictional portrayals of a city, a time, and human beings I've ever seen. And I've seen it, once all the way through and a little bit of it twice. Would I go back and watch it again? Probably not, because there's so much other amazing stuff to watch these days that's being created. So, the diversity of story, the evolution of elite play from so many different, maybe not elite, because they're not everyone's winning tournaments. That's a different part of this, conversation. But yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah. So Mike and I, before the season started, we were kind of making some predictions, and we kind of thought a lot about the fact that we believed that sort of the middle was where we would see the majority of our parity. And thank God we were wrong, right? Like, we were wrong because we've had a different second place, a different third place, a different fourth place, a different fourth, but like the whole
different second place.
Other than Red Legion winning 2 in a row, everybody has traded positions at every event, right? There's been very little other than, again, Paintball Fit, who's been really consistent. The Bears and Revo have been pretty consistent, kind of right in the middle. Everybody else is just up and down, up and down. I mean, the Ironmen go from third place to last place literally in the same weekend, right? Yeah. Like, it's just, it amazes me, and I'm so grateful, right, that we've had such, not just a changing of the guard, but really there is no guard, right? Other than, of course, you can say right now the Russians are the guard. They're kind of setting the tempo and pace of the whole deal right now. It's really been a shitload of fun to talk about, right? Like, we've been able to have good stories the whole time.
Well, it's also
I would argue
coincided
the
with
most.
Sorry, go ahead,
I
Mike.
was just going to say, I would argue that the most consistent team would be Houston Heat. They're like the gatekeeper, right? They're the gatekeeper of fifth place right now.
Fifth. Yeah. Fifth.
You know? Yeah. So I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Maddie. Go ahead.
No, it's obviously that's incredibly frustrating for Houston Heat. As you can see when you cut to the pits or listen to some of their conversations after they have another heartbreaking loss on relatively deep into Sunday. I feel that they get Connor back from his paternity leave here soon, so that could be a team to watch moving forward next 12 months if they can keep that same squad together. Obviously, they're on the precipice of doing really well, but yeah, I mean anyone that's ever, if you haven't seen Heroes for a Day, go watch it. I'm not a fan of consistent mediocrity. I don't really give a shit too much if we're taking, like if we're doing this and we're dedicating our passion, our time away from family, regular life, for sure. And if you're getting paid, God bless you. And you can't get paid playing pro paintball, but that's not why all these guys are doing it. There are more lucrative things to go and spend your time doing. So even at the tip of the spear for guys that are making the most, there are, if they really gave this much passion to real estate or whatever, I don't know, being an entrepreneur, whatever, I'm sure they'd make more money. So it's not just the money. It's what do you want out of this? So I'm a fan of, like, dude, if we have to go and take, a 12th, a 6th, a 1st, a 10th, an 8th, a 1st, like, dude, cool. Because at the end, also, no one remembers who took second place. All that matters is if you won or not. Now, sure, you're going to remember that. Your boys are going to remember that. What a great story. If that's end up being the best you ever did. But that being said, if your goal is to be a winner, to be elite, to be, whatever, considered for the Hall icons, whatever it is, dude. But if your goal is that, everything else is an absolute disaster, which is why when you start to see teams getting close, remember, whatever, there's so many different, I was on one of those teams for a little bit. With Excessive, we took like 5 second places in a row. AC Dallas was in a situation where they took a decent amount of second places within a 2-3 year period. And you go, you do not want to walk up to those guys. You kind of got to be like, hey man, I know this hurts, but you made it this far. Mike, you guys took second place at the first event. I know you're these wounds are probably open sores I'm pouring salt into. And I don't mean to do that maliciously, but this is just how it is,
100%.
Yeah, this is just also like, you and I are both big fans of the Stoic philosophy. I was listening to this little clip the other day that was, viral, but it was I don't know, maybe you sent it to me, but it was Joe Rogan. He's like, anytime I feel depressed or down, he's like, I go watch this clip. And the guy he was with, can't remember who it was, but he was like, and it was a Jocko Willink quote, and or a little, montage of Jocko Willink talking, and who, seen some shit, went to real war, built a business. The guy's been through some stuff, obviously, but he was like, anytime he was down, he'd go talk to this one guy, and he's like, I know what you're already going to say.
Good.
And yeah, good. Yeah, you're going to say good.
Yeah.
Oh, you took second place? Good. Oh, you didn't get the promotion? Good. Oh, things didn't work out your way. You got the no? Good. Why? Because this gives you a chance to get better. This gives you, because when you have success, this is why no one stays at top. Like, this is why, again, the hats off and respect to Dynasty, because they climbed the mountain again. And that's the question, is like, how many times can you climb that mountain? And, if you can do it once, dude, that's amazing. If you could do it twice, wow, you're a legend. If you can do it a bunch of times, well, that again makes the Legion run so amazing. Because Jesus, you want to talk about some struggles those guys have been through? I mean, their country's at war. It's been tough to get their starting 5 over. Those guys have been going through really, really hard times for a team that's, has a pretty amazing pedigree with some all-stars on that squad. If Karslev keeps doing this for the next couple of years, he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Everyone else on that team's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, when I get that, whenever it happens, when they stop playing and I get that email and I'm going to make that vote, there's no way that I'm not putting the other 4 dudes on that starting roster in the Hall of Fame, with what they've accomplished on the field. And that's just, because another thing with like the Hall icons, especially in the beginning, but it was like, well, what did you do on the field? Because we definitely need to lead with that. Like, were you a champion? Did you win? Well, first of all, how good were you? Did you win tournaments? Okay, you won tournaments? Cool. Did you win championships? All right, you won championships. What else did you do? Like, were you a prime mover in other things? Did you start a company? Were you a storyteller? Like whatever, like just what else do you bring to the table? Like, again, welcome to life, dude. It's like, what do you bring here? Like, we're all, sitting around. Just real quick, I'm sorry, I'm very long-winded and apologies. I blame my mom for this, but but there's a great article, and it's like 6 harsh truths that'll make you a better person or something. And it starts out with, it was written years ago, but it's amazing. It's like every human should read this. And it starts out with this story, and it's like, and it was on Cracked, which is like a funny website, but it went viral because it was just so true. And it starts out with this story. It's like, imagine that you're walking down the street and your mom gets shot. And as your mom or whatever loved one you want to picture, and you're sitting there and you're trying to stop the bleeding, and somebody runs over and they're like, "Oh my God, I saw what happened. Can I help?" And you're like, "Yeah, are you a doctor?" And the person goes, "No, I'm not a doctor, but I'm a great dad. And I, do this or do that." And you're like, I don't give a shit if you're a great dad. I need a doctor right now. And that is all of life. Like everything that you do in this life, somebody, it's like, if I need to do my taxes, I'm not going to ask my buddy down the street that works on his car. I'm going to go to a professional that does taxes for a living and be like, "How much money do you need, bro? Can you save me any money?" If I need to build cabinets, I'm not going to go to my buddy that just got into woodworking and be like, unless I'm dead broke, and be like, "Hey, you want to help me with this? We can do it ourselves." But it's not going to be as good as the dude you pay 10 grand to do that. So it's like, that is what this world is. So in paintball, and that one of the, again, gifts of the game, I always say, is that paintball is very much about, it's merit-based. This is a meritocracy. We don't care where you're from. We don't care what you look like. We don't care what gender you are. If there's some badass female player that comes up through the WNXL and is killing 4 people a game and is blazing fast and incredibly has a high paintball IQ, best believe that somebody will get them on their team. There's nothing stopping you other than how good are you at this. That's all we care about. That's it. How old you are, how young you are. Like, yeah, we'd like you to be a good teammate, but I'll even suffer through, and I have suffered through tons of assholes, because they're really good at playing paintball, and we're out here trying to take prizes. That's what this is about. It's about taking prizes, and in the small amount of time that you get to do this, trying to carve out a legacy for yourself and the people around you.
Yeah. And Maddie, you made so many points there. I just wanted to tie it back to a coaching perspective. You talked about goal setting. It's so important to set your goals and make sure that those goals are what we would call SMART. Go look it up. It's an acronym, but make your goals SMART from a coaching perspective, from a team perspective, from a culture perspective. You also talked about it's a meritocracy. Someone said in the comments, that they disagree about people remembering other places. I don't think you were speaking about certain people remembering a great performance. What you're talking about is the paintball world as a whole. What have you done for me lately is, okay, you can like this team all you want. If they aren't performing and they are consistently getting 16th through 20th, it's great that they're great guys. But from a paintball perspective, from a competitive perspective, what are you doing to make yourself better? And one other thing I wanted to touch on, you talked about the Stoic principle, and you talked about Jocko and him and his talk about good. And what that is for me, as from a Stoic perspective, I don't listen to the noise. I don't listen to, I try not to pay attention to the meritocracy because of the fact my goal is to make my guys better. If I focus on that negativity that's coming in where we didn't perform very well, okay, good. What are we going to do to fix it? So from a Stoic perspective, I control what I can control. I focus on what I can change, not what I can't. So I think that principle has always driven me, and I just want to throw that out there real quick. That whole perspective of good. It was tough, good. Tough is good. These things are bad. There's no growth. There's no growth without some form, right, of challenge or adversity. Yeah. That's where men are made. That's Crucible. Where teams grow. But I wanted to get that out of it. Discipline. There it is. And I just wanted to get that off real quick. Ryan, I'll turn it over to you.
No, that was great. Yeah, and I was going to talk about a little discomfort. I love that Jocko thing. I have it saved. I watch it all the time. Because a lot of the stuff I do, I work in sales. I get no's all the time, right? And so, I've had to learn as I've gotten older, especially, it's been easier to slide past those kind of things and get used to the understanding of the no's good for me because it just leads me to the next yes, right? Like the challenges are good for me because it leads me to the next success. So I totally agree. And, our league's in kind of a situation right now where we have, and this leads me into my next question, we are in a position now where I think we've got more really good coaches than probably we've ever had, than we've ever had in the league. And also coaches who are now, I think, taking the job more seriously. They're watching film, really trying to analyze, track data, look at things in a more holistic view than they did before, besides, hey, where's the guy going off the break, right? Like coaching is taking on a whole new role. Yeah. What's that?
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but oh, where do you go off the break? Which way is he looking? It's like,
right.
You can get a little deeper than that if you want.
Totally, right? So now, my sheet that I track stuff on, I mean, it's got, how did the guy go into the spot? Was he standing? Did he hip slide or did he dive? When he came up, which way was his gun? Did he stay on it the whole time? At what point did he switch? And then also, I want to know what the other team did while that happened. Like, it's just, there's so much more data collection that's going on. How have you seen the coaching evolve through all of the different sort of evolutions of the sport that you've seen? And really, I think we'll narrow it really to X-ball, when really the Russians kind of created the need for coaching. How have you seen that kind of evolve over the years? And then where do you see it today?
I think it's the best it's ever been, just based on evolution, and a very cutthroat evolution, because things there's a little nuance there, but it either works or it doesn't, meaning, are you doing well or are you not? And yeah, when Legion started bringing a coaching staff, and also it's the cycling through bodies over time. So so when we first moved into X-ball, that's when, coaches became a thing. So you had Daryl Trent for the Philly Americans, and you had Bob Long, Oakland Assassins. And, we kind of then also had a time period where there was and it still happens obviously a lot on the divisional level, because they can't afford a coach, or because it's not a lot. Again, I've said this many times, and I've told you guys this, I don't think you can overstate or add enough hyperbole into how important a coach is, because how important is your dad? I still remember how important is the coach. I remember viscerally, entire conversations I had when I was 14 years old playing baseball in high school. I remember that more than I remember what happened yesterday sometimes. And I'm never going to forget that. That would actually be a great, if I start losing my mind and I can't remember something, be like, hey, what did Coach Floco say to you guys after the loss to Marion? And I could be like, if I can't tell you that, dude, I'm starting to lose it. That's how important these people are to you. And so, yeah, over time, we've seen the evolution of many things. The intelligence gathering, the, work ethic of a coach is important too. Because I always know, Joey Blutz, one of my go-to guys. Joey Blutz, we're friends. We're good friends. We spend a lot of time talking about stuff. He's also a great personality because he's very frank. And sometimes I have to be like, all right, dude, no R word. Try to limit please don't say, we're not governed by the FCC, but I'm trying to limit the amount of emails that I get after this. So, please. But he's a professional, so I'll tighten it up. But I always know I could text that dude at 8:30 in the morning and be like, bro, can you do the 9 o'clock spot? For whatever reason. Or, hey, you want to get in on this? And he'll be like, yeah, I've been here for a half hour, dog. I got you. He's just, because he's always there. He's there all day long. And why is he doing that? Well, he's doing that because, he coaches one of the best teams in the world. If he does well, if they do well, he does well. And he knows that it's this is as cutthroat as it gets. It's pretty cutthroat at the top for coaches, because if all of a sudden a couple seasons go by and you're not doing well, you can point at the players or the coach. You can point at the paint. Sure, the guns probably not so much, because all the top level guns are probably about the same as far as, feels a little different, but paint is an issue. But paint, players, coaches, that's it, dude. Those are your scapegoats. And so he knows that. I've had conversations with him about this, and he's a smart dude. So the amount of time and effort that coaches are being put in, the time they're allowed to put in based on compensation, the evolution of strategy, the chess match that's happening in a game has evolved constantly. Every year it gets better. Clock management has become an incredibly crucial part of this game. Player management, as you guys well know, and every leader of human beings does, you know, like you are definitely, you're not just the coach, you're also an organizer. You're also, you know, you're a dude that's got to pump people up. You also need to be a psychologist. You know, you need to be a strategist. You need to be a tactician. You need to be all these things. And that's why it's so hard to find a good coach. And therefore, you cannot overstate the importance of, once you do find a good coach, Jesus, hold on to that person with everything you got, because, you know, it's because the coach it's beyond just setting the game. Sure. Because honestly, because you could look at it, to look at it from the other perspective, you could be like, well, I mean, how much does a coach actually have to do with it? Because once you set the game plan and they get to their spots, they're just playing paintball. I'm like, yeah, but, and then if a guy gets shot off the break, then the game plan's out the window. I'm like, yeah, sure. But also, I mean, how much time did that coach spend in that guy's ear trying to pump up the timid kid that can't play to his potential? Again, anyone that talked to me when I didn't want to do anything on camera, you know, like, how much do I owe those people? I owe them the world, you know? The people that gave me confidence in those situations, that coached me, not even necessarily what to say, just the psychologist element of it. Like, dude, you're really good at this. Why would you even like second guess? I mean, it's like also one of the best things a coach ever said to me. And it's been said many ways, many times by different people, or many people, is that if I believe in you as a third person standing, looking at a person existing in this world, doing what you're doing, why would you not believe in yourself? You know, and so so much of that comes into it. So it's not just the tactician, the strategist. It's also about, what are you giving as a human to that other human in these very tense moments that mean so much to all of us.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Well said. Well said.
I would also like to say that, dude, hey, I'm not, and no disrespect to the super fans. I mean, again, go down the rabbit hole as well too. But I'm trying to say, when I'm saying that no one remembers second place, I'm trying to say that in the grand scope of time, when I look back to what happened when I was playing 90s, 2000s, then calling games since 2003, and I think on these things, yeah, it's hard for me to remember who took a second place at, Atlantic City in, 2002. Who was that? That was me. I remember that. So I definitely remember that. But it's like, it's like the teams that do well, it's like, this is just another harsh reality in life. It's we remember, with the books are written about the presidents, not necessarily who took second place. If you want to read a 600-page history book, sure, they'll give you an intricate breakdown of how that entire era went and why this person got nominated by their party. But in the grand scope of things, like, again, harsh truth is that most people don't remember that, dude. And that's what I mean. Most people aren't going to remember that. And we're all shooting for wins here, whatever that may be.
History's written by the winner. So
for real.
Totally.
Or who the winner paid to write the history.
That's right. So, so Ryan and I are going to put you on the spot. We're coming up on an hour and a half. Wanted to go ahead and do this. So heading into Chicago.
Yeah. Well, hey, just real quick. I had to pick up my kid before this. How much time we got? I'm down to stay as long as you guys want, but might need to use the restroom if we're going to go long here.
I think this is our last question.
This is it.
Our last question. This is it. So who's the team to watch heading into Chicago? What's your take on heading into Chicago?
I feel like
you're on the spot.
Yeah, again, I'll try to keep this as succinct as possible, but I feel that with the momentum that Legion has right now, it's obviously an easy bet. Like, you cannot, like, the Legion was so dumb. I mean, when you look at how they went through this third event with a plus 29. Their plus minus for and against. They put up 46 points, had 17 points scored on them. They completely obliterated Blast Camp. That game wasn't close. Really close game against the Bears. Do shout out to the Bears. Now they got him in.
Yeah.
Are they ready to win a tournament? Probably not. But the way that the Bears have continued to impress, and now they get Hinman, and they know Hinman. Hinman knows them, at least enough for that marriage to work probably pretty decent. But yeah, shout out to the Bears. Magic Mike, love you, buddy. Just beat the brakes off of unfortunately the Hurricanes and Uprising, and then also beat up on Damage. So that's just complete. Like, we're talking about 3 Mercy Rule wins in a row, 4 out of 5 games. Had a tough one against against Impact, and then you guys can all watch the show if you haven't seen it already, coming up on ESPN August 4th. But yeah, I mean, it was just masterful, dude. Plus 29, that's up there. That's up there with some of the best that we've seen in recent memory in this current incarnation of the game. So betting against Legion is going to be tough. Also, as we know, winning is contagious. So now they're coming off this, that huge weekend they had in Atlantic City with 2 wins. As long as none of those starters get hurt, that's their Achilles heel. Yeah, they got some talent coming up the ranks, but I mean, you have to call it like you see it. And again, no disrespect to those dudes trying to earn playing time on Legion, but everyone knows that the second that if any of those guys have to take a seat, they their chances get substantially worse. Just is what it is. Yeah. So depth is their big problem. I'm pretty hot on X Factor, and I just think that X Factor has the firepower needed. That's a team I wish, and Ryan's done such a good job. Ryan Brandon's done such a great hair too, but he's been doing such a good job coaching that team. But they have all that they need. You need threats and you need vets. And you need essentially veterans that can pull off low body situations, win some heroic points, be close to the twos or the ones when they're attacking. Like, you need the game management when stuff's breaking down and things get into the scramble. They got those guys for sure. TJ Danner has been amazing. Matt Jackson is phenomenal. They got guys for that. They have tons of threats. If they're all healthy, it would not surprise me that if X Factor, obviously a second place already on Thursday in Texas, aka Sunday, I'm kind of hot on them. And this is what's making it fascinating to me is because Impact's starting to catch one. With the third place they took, 15th to 3rd, that's a big improvement. They finished with a plus 10. Shock is also trending the right way. You can't count out Houston Heat's due, dude. Like they get Connor back, that team's due. So when we start breaking this down, again, we could spend the next, another hour and a half. That's why I was like, how much time we got, boys? Because this could get into the woods here, because it does get, as far as teams that are ready to win, I'm talking about, like, when you're asking me who's going to win the tournament, we have to talk about those teams. When we get a little deeper, then I am interested with, you guys, like, how are you guys going to respond? Mike, Ryan, how are you guys going to respond? Like, Diesel obviously has threats and vets. They have firepower. They have a great coach. They have a ton of support. There's literally nothing stopping Diesel from being a team that should be there every Sunday. Maybe you'll have a blowout here or there, like as a lot of top teams have. But out of 5 events, it's not a big ask to be like, Diesel should be there 4 times and they should be threatening for a win at least a couple times, at least where we're at now. With the Hurricanes, this is a big moment for you guys in your careers. This is a massive, this is one that this specific turn of the plot is going to be like, because I remember these in my playing career. I remember these in building up, Go Sports and building all these different moments that were kind of like, this is the crucible. Like, this is do or die right here, And so I'm really looking forward to seeing your 2 teams. But, it's just that knowing how tenuous it can be when you've trying to achieve a goal and you don't have a giant benefactor that's like, dude, don't even worry about it, bro. Let's go to Charlie's now. You feeling bad? Let's go to Charlie's. And I'm not saying that it's funny. I'm wearing Charlie's t-shirt right now. Horme's Charlie shirt, but that's where you go when you win. And I'm not saying that Mark's doing that for you guys, Ryan, but
oh no,
it seems like Mark wants to, keep this project going. Whereas, like, Mike, you guys are in a situation where, I mean, I can't think of a team I'm more excited to watch play just because I know what's at stake. These guys are at this moment where it's like, we either do this, but if we have another bad performance, like, where's their head at? Then we go into cup. Okay, well, then again, and it's not, and then it's one of those things, like, I've just seen this so many times where you get guys or teams, because that's what it is. It's this, conglomerate of this talent and this intention and this time. And this is why I always tell younger, guys that are in the game, I'm like, dude, enjoy every second of this, and, relish the successes and appreciate the losses for the lessons that they give. I know that sounds like some fucking, bullshit you're going to hear from some influencer, but, like, it's the truth, dude. Like, they say they use those levers to get your attention because it's true. Okay.
Yeah.
It's how it's delivered. And these are real moments. So it's like, you get the Hurricanes, they, came up, And then we're very impressive, very consistent, have flirted with greatness. And you guys are kind of sitting at this huge moment. And it's moments, because it's like a block of time where how long can the current group that you have continue to do what they're doing? Like whatever, pick your metaphor. How long can you hit that rate? That race car's been finely tuned. It's been built. You had Craftsman spend, a long time making that engine. And then you got the high octane gas. How long can it stay in the red? If we need to go 300 miles an hour, like how long can we go 300 miles an hour? It's not, depending on how many more crew you got and how much high octane gas you got and how many craftsmen you got to fix it when the wheels fall off. Like that question, I mean, for Dynasty, it's been over 20 years, so like, right. But that's the question, the question being asked by fate and by themselves. I'm sure they're asking these questions in those nights they can't sleep, but it's like, what else do I got in this? Like what's the next step for this? And because that's what's at stake for the Hurricanes. And that's a beautiful moment to be able to consume as a bystander. So I know that's what's happening. I've been there myself, and I can't wait to see what happens to the Hurricanes. And then for Diesel, it's like, man, you got a bunch of badass dudes that have been there and done that. And then, you got a great leader, again, a lot of support. And it's like, when does this beast emerge? Like, when does this beast become a beast? Like, when does the 800-pound gorilla realize that it's a fucking 800-pound gorilla? Like, when does that happen? I don't know, and so I want to see that.
Been asking that question all year.
Right. And so, but that's when I looked, I could literally do this for a lot of these teams, so it's like, and we do it all the time. That's why we do these shows. But it's like, and so it's fascinating. And the thing I was going to say earlier too, is that it's been so interesting to see the fact that we have all these people coming out of the woodworks with talent and storytelling and people that care, so it's like guys like yourself. It's like, COVID brought us the Spick and Span show and the Play the Game podcast. Thank God. I've been doing this for a long time. The first podcast I did was 2008. And anytime that I talk to somebody that hits me up behind the scenes and is like, Maddie, what do you think about this? I may have used this metaphor for you guys too, but I'm like, yeah, welcome to the fight. We're going that way. It's the enemy is generally this way. The enemy being like the attention of the masses is this way. If you want to carve, if you want to carve a path out that way, but we're kind of still going the same direction. Awesome, brother. I really appreciate you being here. By the way, all we have left for supplies is a dim torch and a dull machete. So get after it, and it's just coincided with this giant parity we now have in the pro league, the expansion of the league. This beautiful, again, new golden age we're kind of heading into. So I think the future is very bright as long as, all these disparate things can all come together. But it's that's what's fascinating. It's like, what does Aftermath do? Like, this PB Fit going to make a Sunday? I mean, Last Camp made a Sunday. PB Fit didn't. There's all these little micro stories that are happening in the grand narrative. And to me, it's like, that's what gets me up in the morning, on the long ass weekend when it's 4, I'm sitting there and I'm like, and the alarm goes off and I'm like, all right, dude, you got to get up and try to be good today. Let's be great today. You got a lot of cool stories to tell, but you have to do this for 10 hours in a row or 11 hours in a row for 4 days in a row. Like, don't be weak. You be strong. Let's go. That's what makes it a little bit easier. Cause anytime we groove into the moment, I'm just in the moment. I'm in that flow state. It's like, I can't go anywhere. Like, I can't, I'm stuck. I got to run to pee and then run back and try to see if my co-host is there. And I've got people in my ear like, oh, what do you think about that drone shot? Yeah, the drone shot was good. Let's get a little bit more camera 2. All right, cool. You ready to go? All right, let's go. See a guy on a team. Hey, bro, let's get it. It's like, and then you jump right back in the seat. Yeah. And you're doing that for literally 10 or 11 hours in a row with no break. Maybe, and like, I didn't even get lunch breaks at this last one because we had to do a TV show. So it's like, fuck it. All right, send it. Let's go. Like, let's be beautiful today. Like, let's get after this because, one day I won't be able to do that either. It's the same shit, like hopefully I can do this for another 20 years. I don't know, like, I don't know. I could get by a car tomorrow, so it's just like, okay, like you said, good. Oh, it's hard. Good. 10 hours. Good. Let's go. Like, what do you got? What do you prove? Like, they're like my Navy SEAL buddies. I grew up in San Diego. We're paintball guys. We know a ton of team guys. And sometimes they just do shit where it's like, prove you're still hard, like, prove you're still hard. Can you do this? Is this in your constitution to do this really difficult thing? Good. Okay, let's see. Like maybe I can't do it as well as I did it. Whatever. Maybe I can't ruck 15 miles, get in a gunfight, ruck back 15 miles. Maybe I can ruck 10. I don't know. Fuck it. Send it. Let's go. Like let's see. And it's like, and that's right. That's how I look at this. Like that's what energizes me. And that's what I love to see in the game, because that's what paintball brings out of you. That's the gift. Yeah. That's the gift that exists in the context of these very, very intense moments that are so hard to find in regular life. Yeah,
it is a gift. That's a great it is a gift. Find the limit every day. Let's go. I like that. I feel like I could run through a wall right now. I think I might go do that after the show. So.
I love the way that you said, anybody who wants to start, like we have, I think 3 guys in the chat right now that all have podcasts, right?
Shout out to In the Pits. I don't know who else is in there, but like, dude,
In the Pits, Paintball
Lounge,
X-Ball is in here from Iran.
He's awesome.
Yeah, like, and that's one of the things kind of when Mike and I started talking about doing this, I was like, we just need to protect this one little space. Like we need to provide content, resources for coaches. Like that'll be our space. We'll take care of that. Like these other guys are taking care of the players. They're telling different stories. Let's take care of the coaches. Let's just manage this little space, right? Like we know our show isn't going to be like, everybody's not going to watch our show and be like, oh my God, this is so interesting. It's not for you, right? Like the weird intellectual dude who wants to watch us break down film, it's for you, right? Like it's for you. Yeah. It's, the person who wants to learn about how we see the game, right? Because we're going to say shit and they're going to go, oh, I see it completely differently. Great. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have a differing of opinion, right? Like that's what makes it good.
100%. I mean, again, it's like, and the more the merrier. Totally. Like the effect. If you look at affect and effect, 2 different things, and you see those things actually moving in the world. Well, what is that a power of? Well, or what creates that power? The passion that is behind people. So the more people that we have telling these stories, it magnifies all these moments. It allows, because there's more. Like that's like anytime this happens, I'm like, dude, like I'm not gatekeeping here, bro. What do you need? Right? Like I wasn't like, oh, you're gonna do a show. Well, how does that have my effect? Fuck that. That's ridiculous, dude. Like this. The growing the pie is the most important thing right now to me. Growing the pie. Like how do we get other people to care about this thing that I've given so much time and effort and energy and passion to over the years? Oh, cool. Another dude wants to do that. Let's do it. Now I only have I got a toddler. I got my things I got to do. I mean, I'm not an infinite source of, wisdom and energy, but I will do what I can given what I have to work with, but that being said, it's like, yeah, man, like this is important. It is crucially. So if you're out there and you're on the fence and you're like, dude, I was on the fence too. Mike was on the fence. Like this is not innate in everyone. The ability to just, say like, yeah, dude, send it. Because you know what? Yeah. If you want short, simplistic answers to things and you don't want to hear a long-winded, way too verbose dude, don't listen to me talk. Like I'm not the episode for you. Yeah. I'm not the episode for you. Go watch someone else, but maybe there's someone else for you. So the more that we have for these different people, the better. It only gets better. So that's kind of how I look at all this, and I hope we continue. And I mean, I'm gonna keep doing this. This is something I've been very passionate about. I still am, and because I just love the game, man. Dude, we got all shapes and sizes and it's crazy. And, it's like anything in the world that you do that has millions of people to play. Like Tom had said, 3 million people play a year. Okay, well, we're going to have some dickhead scammers. They're going to want to, sell you a gun and you get screwed over from that. But, it's like, that's one of those things, like as you get older and you kind of like, I've had some really hardcore things happen to me in life. And I've talked about some of those things on different podcasts, but maybe I'll go into them in the future more, but it's like, but you can't get that jaded, it's like not everyone's a scumbag, like not everyone is out to get one over on you. There are good people out there. In fact, there's more good people. They may not think the same way you think about things. You may have a difference of opinions, and hey, dude, welcome to the world and welcome to America. Like that's how we built this. was be like, oh yeah, you think that? Oh, we may think so much differently that I need you to live over there. But you know what though? Like, we're all going to show up on voting day. We're going to figure it out, So it's like,
that's right.
So it's just, and then with paintball, you get to go fight it out. You can either fight it out in the marketplace, whether it's the marketplace of the products you want to make, the marketplaces of ideas, the way you look at the game, or the most important part of it all, the battleground marketplace. You got a different way to look at how strategy works and how to hold your gun. Cool, dude. Like, all right, let's go play and we'll see. We'll see, and it's, and then in this world and how things are currently, what a blessing, what a blessing.
It's awesome to be able to check out from reality and do this once a week. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It really is. And never lose that passion, Maddie. And I'm so glad that Ryan, kind of, and the Canes rejuvenated that in me. Passion's the fire. It's the enthusiasm and courage that an individual feels when they're doing something they love while accomplishing worthy ends, something that satisfies all our deepest needs, right? So don't lose that passion. There are several people in the comments saying, don't lose that passion. Don't, right? I don't think any of us need to. And I think it's one of those things where I've really enjoyed this conversation. You're right. We could go on for hours about this and probably talk about it. So,
well, we could do
come
another
to the South.
episode,
We'll show you. We'll show you
yeah.
a completely different perspective.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, like, we're not going anywhere, so we got some time. But yeah, whenever you guys want me back on, cool, no big deal. Got to obviously, Ryan, I need to get you on the show soon, for sure. Let's get you on the show before the next event, to pick your brain a little bit more, and yeah, we can speak passionately about the things we are passionate about. But again, that's just it's like, yeah, man, like, I had to mow both my lawns today and take the trash cans out and deal with my toddler and, sit and grind out work stuff. And yes, I love telling paintball stories, but, I don't just sit in front of the computer and all of a sudden this stuff comes out. I don't get on the phone with Tom and in 10 minutes we're like, this is exactly what we're going to do. Or Darren, my technical producer. Like, no, it's a pain in the ass sometimes. I describe creating content as, chipping granite. Some days my chisel is way sharper than others and I can get more done. And sometimes I'll spend 5 days working on a 1 minute long bit, but as long as when I read that 1 minute long bit or we create that piece of content, it has a good affect into the world. People are emotionally moved by it. And then it affects things in a positive manner. Cool, win. Whether it took me 10 minutes or 10 hours, it still got done. And that's just, again, that's how shit is, dude. Like, that's just the reality of it. But when I'm 10 hours into trying to finish this thing, or when I'm 6 hours or 7 hours into the VO session to finish the video or to finish the ESPN show, and I'm like, all right, dude, we got it. Let's go. Like, hey, can I get another cup of coffee? Let me take a quick 5-minute break. All right, let's get after this. And then boom, you sit back in the seat and you're like, and here we go, and you're right back into it, so it's just, you just gotta, self-motivate. But also it's not even self-motivating. It's like you're drawing this passion from other people. I'm like, don't mess this up, dude. There's tens of thousands of people that need this to be on. Like, and yeah, sure, you can feel the stress of like, oh, weight of the industry is on your shoulders. Sure. Cool. Are you going to use that as gas for the furnace? Or is that going to be a lead weight for your soul? And sometimes it's both. And you fight those demons in you as it's going on, but you still fight those demons. So it's like, that's the thing, like there's no secret code. There's no secret sauce. Like that's bullshit, dude. It's just, you just do the work. You show up, you put whatever you have, it's like you always bring to bear what you have in that given moment and hope it's good enough. And that's it. That's the only way forward to do anything.
I love you talking about the time too. Like SK, and when we first started doing the show, I was like, man, I spend like 10 to 15 hours a week kind of doing show prep and, getting all our guests lined up and doing all the things. And he was like, why does it take you so long? And I'm like, you want to come do it for a little while and you can find out?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, man, if you need anything from me, let me know. And I was like, great. And I asked him for two things. He didn't do either one of them. It's like, now I have to do 12 hours because you didn't do the things that should help me with.
Yeah. That's just
like, it takes time.
For sure, dude. Yeah. I mean, again, anything worth, it's it's like whatever. I'm working on this history podcast, and I've been working on it for a while, but I'm probably going to come out with episode 1 soon. I'm calling it the second death, but it takes time to create good things. And if you're a hack that's just pumping out bullshit, that could help us too. I mean, like, depends on what it is, but I just can't work that way. It's like I grew up in a time where if you're going to present a piece of writing, or we had to do whatever, like things you gotta, but then sometimes it helps to be a gun put to your head. It's like when we do a live show, it's live, bro. Like, I mean, I don't know if we're live. Are we live right now?
Oh yeah.
Live. Yeah. So again, gun to your head, you got to do it. But yes, but that's again, part of it. If how long, I mean, if somebody had to create, I don't know what cars you guys drive. I don't drive a nice car or anything, but it's like, how long, if somebody had to create that from scratch, how long would that take? It couldn't be created, number one, but it's just good things that work, they take time. And
right.
Yeah, if you want to actually make something work, it's like, it's a little bit different, but it's a funny saying that I'm thinking about putting in episode 1 in the beginning, in the intro for this history podcast I've been working on. But it's a quote from Benjamin Franklin. And he says, you either do something in this life worth writing about, you either write something worth reading, or you do something worth the writing. Because and that last part of it is interesting, worth the writing. It is hard to sit down and create something worth reading. And that's kind of part of it. So if you're writing about somebody that did something amazing, you want to do your due diligence to the effort that was required to have that act happen. The life spent for that person to go out, play that game, or whatever it may be, or fight that battle, or create that, whatever it may be, and then create that invention. But then now, so that thing happened. And then in order to tell that story properly, you have to do your due diligence and sit there and be like, well, what angle am I coming at this from? What tense am I going to use? Then you got to chip the words out of nothing. You're bringing them from nothing and putting them out here, and then you chip around. It takes time to do things properly, like build pro teams.
It's like Benjamin Franklin said, well done is better than well said. So
for sure.
In other words, don't talk about it, do it.
Yeah. So. I mean, that's part of it, but sometimes doing it is talking about it, so it's like, and that requires some work too. But yeah, for sure.
Outstanding. Good stuff.
Brother, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on, and we'll definitely have you back on. It was a lot of fun. Next time we'll create a fun topic.
Yeah.
We'll make it a little different.
I love it. Let me just,
you can help me write the Chaucer intro to Tom too.
Yeah. Did you weren't here when we did your intro?
Yeah. It was sorry. So this was another one of those tech situations where, like, I'd never have problem with my video. So I log in, and I always like to be, early for stuff, but I had to pick my kid up from school, and he was being a little shit. So it was taking way longer than it expected. And then, so I get back and log in, and I'm like, and also Mike was like, yeah, whenever you can join us, cool. And I'm like, all right. So then I'm logging in, and I, hit the button. It's like, the mic sounds good. And then it's like, oh, you have no camera. It's like, it is like no, so I could hear a little bit. And then I'm just like, well, as Darren, like any tech guy ever says, like, well, the very first fix or anything is turning everything off and turning it back on. But I've got all these projects that I'm working on. We're doing another documentary thing for Go Sports. I had all my video or all the show stuff still up, like history podcast stuff. I got all this stuff. So I'm like, save, and then shut down. And then, like, sure enough, turn it off, turn it back on, and everything was working fine. So, but I didn't hear the like most of the intros.
Yeah. So it was, our guest and I could have a Tiger Woods pre-drive intro at the first hole of Augusta.
What?
we'll just keep it simple and short. And call
that's a good way to do the intro, in the sense it reminds me of the Phil Mickelson. There's a famous Phil quote where they're sitting there and they're doing the intro, and they're like, Tiger Woods, the winner of the Farmers Open 2005, also the winner of blah 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 and blah. And Phil's sitting there, and he's like, finally he just goes, hey, can we wrap this up? And everyone starts laughing.
It's funny. So I mentioned, and that may have been the clip that I saw, because when Tom came in, he was kind of giving us a hard time. He was like, you guys, that was a great intro for Maddie and then Tom. Because we basically just said, and President Tom Cole.
He's had a great career too, you know?
Totally. And I said that. I was like, well, your accolades in a different way, your list could be that long also, you know?
Yeah.
But I was
and that's when I made the comment. Right. And that's when I made the comment that, you know, Tom, we'll make a Chaucer intro for you. I'll write a Chaucer intro for you next time. So
I was telling him, you know, if you're the second guy who's teeing off behind Tiger Woods, you're basically standing there for 5 minutes waiting for them to get through the list of accolades.
Yeah, you're like,
you know, that they announce.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, you're like, can we play some golf here? Let's go. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, hey, guys, I really do appreciate what you're doing. You guys are leading lights in this sport, and you know, and it's just been so cool to see you guys step into this storytelling mode, and I think it's a really cool niche because, you know, the coaching element of it, like I said before, and I will repeat, and I will say, and I've said this on different shows, I'm going to continue to say it just because it's as true as the day is long in the summer. Yeah, you cannot overstate the importance of a good coach, and you also can't overstate the importance of, you know, tenured experience, people that have been around the sport for a long time, trying to help guide and craft winning paintball teams. Yeah, that's important stuff right there. So yeah, I just have a ton of respect for you two. And, you know, and then now that you guys are doing this, it just, you know, has even increased that respect. I'm just like, man, hell yeah, boys. Hell yeah. Cause again, here's the dull machete and a dim torch. I think we're going this way. I'm down to listen. If you think we're going another way, I would have some things to say about that, but like, hey, it's an open conversation. But yeah, man, it's been really cool to see what you guys have been doing.
Yeah, we're happy to help push.
We'll see if we can't brighten the torch and sharpen the machete a little bit.
Please do. Please do. That would be real. That would make the going a little bit faster, for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, buddy. Enjoy your evening.
Later, boys.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Take care. I love that.
Wow.
That dim torch and dull machete. I'm gonna start using that one a lot. I really like that. And there was a lot of great analogies he's used. Every time I speak with Maddie, there's always some terrific metaphors and analogies and all these things. And I keep saying, oh, I need to put that one in the mental Rolodex. So, you know.
So do you understand now why I only had 3 questions on there for Maddie? Now do you know why?
Yeah, right. Like, and that's what's so fun.
Well, I made them broad, right? And I know well enough just from conversations with him. I was like, if I make these narrow, he'll probably go for 8 to 10 minutes. If I make them broad, he'll be able to go for 20, right? So I'll make them broad enough where he can just flow, and then we'll pick up there'll be other questions probably will come out of what he's saying, but I'll make them really broad and we'll just pick them up.
And that's what was great about it, right? Is you and I were able to build off his expansion of the topic. And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that. I wish we had more time. I wish it wasn't a Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Central and we could all sit around and, you know, have coffee or whatever and just talk about this all the time. I wish I got paid to do this. I wish I got paid to have coffee and talk with Ryan and Maddie. That would be fun. So, yeah.
Maybe someday, my friend.
That's what it is.
Maybe someday. For now, we'll keep working regular jobs and we'll keep this as a passion project.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Take us out.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Coaches Show. Thank you to Tom Cole and Maddie Marshall for joining us. Major League Paintball for all the support of the show. Alex Sorensen, Kevin Fillers, and Tom Cole. If you want to elevate your game, get the best knowledge in paintball at bkipaintball.com and use code CoachShow. This show has been brought to you by Max Sportswear. When needed, get maxed. I'm Ryan Gray with Mike Bianca. As always, be responsible.